If you want to build an exceptional sauna, there is 4 key principles to follow. In this video, we will go over these principles one by one, explaining why they are important and how to apply them in your own sauna design. My name is Veeti. I'm a Finnish sauna expert and a lifelong sauna enthusiast. Since starting my businesses back in 2022, I have helped over 3,000 US-based sauna builders complete their sauna projects. This video will be divided into 4 different sections, and in each one of them we will explain one of the golden rules of Finnish sauna design. You can find each of the 4 sections from the timeline and skip straight into the section that is the most interesting to you if you don't want to watch all of the rules. The rule number 1 will be talking about feet above the stones. The second rule will be about Löyly buffers. Third rule will be about wooden surfaces in a sauna. And fourth rule will be about ventilation. So let's get straight into it. So golden rule number 1 is that you need to have your feet above the upper stones of the sauna heater. So when you sit in a sauna, your foot bench should be above the upper stones of the sauna heater or at the same level of the upper stones at the sauna heater. The reason being is that saunas and physics work in a way that hot air is always going to rise up from the sauna heater while cold air is going to plummet to the bottom because hot air is less dense than cold air. So you will have a layer of cold air on the bottom of the sauna and you will have a layer of hot air on the upper part of the sauna. And even with great ventilation, you can equalize this a lot, but still if you want to be in the same temperature zone and you don't want to have cold feet and hot head, but you want to be equally heated, because the idea of sauna is to heat your body instead of heating your head. You want to be sitting in this Löyly pocket is what they call it in Finnish sauna design. Even the open mesh sauna heaters push 10 times more heat straight up from the sauna heater compared to the heat that comes from the side of the sauna heaters. So the original Finnish saunas were called saunas, and in these saunas you had this massive pile of rocks on the bottom of the sauna and you had a fire going on under these rocks, and people were always sitting very close to the roof of the sauna. So the difference between like the upper stones of these sauna heaters and the upper bench levels in the sauna were like massive. But nowadays, as long as you can get your feet above the stones, that's very good. If you want to use this golden rule of Finnish sauna design, you need to measure the height of the sauna heater you are going to use and then plan your benches accordingly. So yes, this means that your sauna will become quite high. What I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to give you a quick example of the measurements of having feet above the stones if you use Home Hive Mini, which is quite popular, at least in the US market. Home Hive Mini is 29.5 inches high. This means you can position your foot bench at 30 inches from the ground. To explain this bench construction more deeply, your bench construction will be, if you want it simple, a stepper, then a foot bench at 30 inches from the floor, then from that 18 inches to the sitting bench, and from the sitting bench to the ceiling you want to have about 44 inches, so longer sauna goers can fit into the sauna, but you don't have much air above your head because the hot air, the Löyly air, the best air is always going to be at the ceiling, so you don't want to have much air gap between your head and the ceiling. What this means in terms of ceiling height, so from floor to ceiling, it means that you have 30 inches plus 18 inches plus 44 inches, which is 92 inches or 7.7 feet or 2.34 meters. So to recap, if you use Home Hive Mini, you want to follow this rule. You have seen all the explanations here on the screen. You need a sauna that is at least 7.7 feet high or 2.34 meters if you live in Europe. Then we have golden rule of exceptional Finnish saunas. Golden rule of Finnish sauna design number 2 is that you need something called a Löyly buffer, which basically means that above the upper door frame you need to have space, because when you exit the sauna, if your door opens all the way from floor to the ceiling of your sauna, all the best hot and steamy air is going to run away from your sauna. So if you follow the rule number 1, which is that you have your feet above the upper stones of the sauna heater, then you will kind of automatically follow the golden rule number 2, which is that you will have space above your door. So when people go in and out of the sauna, not all the best air exits with the sauna goers. So the golden rule number 3 of Finnish sauna design is that all the surfaces in your sauna made out of wood, or at least most of them if we don't count in like windows and maybe some special elements. Most of the surfaces should be made out of wood because you want the heat to be radiated towards you from all the sides. The reason for using wood is that wood is first of all great insulator, which means that it will keep the heat inside the sauna well. But second of all, wood is good at absorbing and releasing heat. So when you have a wooden sauna and you close your eyes, you can't know where the sauna heater is because wood is radiating the heat towards you from all sides. So the wooden surfaces will make your sauna feel equally heated and more enjoyable. If you would have a sauna, let's say made out of stone or whatever, then you would have an electric sauna heater. You would have more of this radiant microwave type of heat because those surfaces wouldn't absorb and release the heat effectively. Plus, it would take longer for your sauna to heat up, and it would require much more energy for your sauna to stay in your optimal bathing temperature if you would have, like, I don't know, any cold surfaces, basically tile, stone or something in your walls and in your ceilings. So you want your walls, ceilings and benches optimally be made out of wood for the most optimal sauna experience. One more thing is that because your benches are made out of wood, they're comfortable to sit in because wood doesn't get like uncomfortably hot. If you heat up stone, like the stones inside the sauna heater, for example, they absorb a lot of heat, and then if you would sit in that, it would be very, very uncomfortable. So golden rule of Finnish sauna design number 3 is that your sauna should be made out of wood as much as possible. More wood, the better sauna experience and the more equal heat you will have in your sauna. So our golden rule number 4 is that you need to have sufficient ventilation. So ventilation is one of the most difficult things to get right. We have some tutorials about it, you can watch it there, but let's think about it. So if you go into a sauna and you spend few minutes in there sitting on the upper benches enjoying your sauna session and you start feel like you're suffocating, it's not because the sauna is too hot, it's because you don't have oxygen. So what good ventilation does is that it drops cold air into the sauna heater, and that cold air, that fresh air coming from outside has oxygen in it, and then this oxygen rich air mixes with the rising hot airflow, and this way you get oxygen to the upper benches. And good ventilation also takes the CO2, so the used air, and pushes it away from the sauna. Ventilation, so the air circulation that you have going in your sauna, has also many other important tasks to do. So one is that it equalizes the temperature, because when you get the air circulating, you get this hot air pulled down from the ceiling and you are more in this equal heat zone overall, so you can equalize the temperature inside your sauna with great ventilation. Also, the ventilation is important in terms of drying your sauna after the sauna session. So what I mean by this is when you throw a lot of water on the sauna heater, you create this löyly, which is this amazing steamy air. What is going to happen is that the löyly is obviously humidity, and this humidity needs to go somewhere. If you have a room which has all wooden surfaces but no sufficient ventilation, how is that humidity going to find its way out of your sauna? How is your wood going to dry? Well, it's not going to dry without ventilation, and then you will have mold and bacteria growing in your sauna. So ventilation is important in terms of equalizing the temperature, in terms of drying your sauna quicker to keep it safe, in terms of bringing oxygen to sauna goers and removing CO2. So in a sauna with good ventilation, you can stay in the sauna for a long time, like 15-20 minutes without feeling like suffocating. You're out of breath. If you feel like you're out of breath, if you feel dizzy, if you get headaches from a sauna, it's probably because you are in an environment where there is high CO2 levels and low oxygen levels, and when you're trying to breathe, there is nothing for you to breathe. So that increases the CO2 levels inside your body, and that will make you feel like dizziness and headaches and all that stuff. So ventilation and getting the ventilation correctly is super important. I have seen too many saunas with no ventilation at all. But yeah, opening the door doesn't act as like ventilation for a sauna, because if you think about it, people sit in the sauna, you are sweating and your heart rate raises a bit, so then you consume more oxygen than usually, so you need to have good airflow in a sauna in that regard as well. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned a lot about these 4 key principles of building an exceptional Finnish sauna. What I want to say here in the end is that remember, if you want to build an exceptional sauna, you should follow these 4 rules, but even mediocre sauna is much better than no sauna. So I understand that most of you can't follow these 4 golden design principles of Finnish sauna, but you can try, and with your limitation, maybe you have limitations of how high you can build your sauna and all that stuff, you can try to get as close as possible with your budget and your unique limitations. I recommend you to watch the ventilation masterclass next, because you can create a great ventilation in any sauna, and with that you shouldn't have much ventilation. So go and watch our ventilation masterclass to learn how to ventilate your sauna to make it exceptional.